It's some classic team-up action with the return of the original Defenders.
Read your comics!
Thanks for joining me. My name is Daryl, and I am the host of Read Your Comics. I'm continuing the Peter David Hulk run. I am in the Dale Keown era of the Peter David Hulk run now, and this is a fun storyline where Dale Keown gets to play with the original Defenders, Prince Namor, and Doctor Strange. I have no idea what was going on with these characters at this particular time. I'm pretty sure Namor was in the John Byrne solo series going on, but I don't really know what was happening with Doctor Strange. In fact, as a kid, this may be one of the earliest stories I read with either of these characters that I can really pinpoint. Doctor Strange wasn't popping up in much of the books I was reading, and neither was Namor. I definitely remember seeing his book on the shelf, though. That John Byrne series was pretty popular, at least enough that I saw it on the shelf. But I always thought he looked kind of goofy. He's like a guy with pointy ears wearing a green Speedo. So at this particular time, I didn't really care much about him. And I knew nothing about the Defenders, really, when this came out. So it's really fun to look back on this with all the comic knowledge that I have now and see like how significant these team-up issues really were. But before we dive in, I wanted to point out that I have a playlist of this Peter David Hulk run. If you want to look at any of the episodes going back to his first issue as the regular writer, you can find that right here or in the description below. And if you're new to the channel or just haven't done so already, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit like too. I always forget to say that. Definitely hit like. And feel free to share it. I'm not going to stop you. Go ahead, share it. Do it. I dare you. All right, let's go ahead and jump on in. Love this cover, though. I think it's got kind of a classic comic feel to it, where you've got all three characters that are going to appear in it. You've got a Doctor Strange looking nether realm in the background with these two monstrous hands reaching out and grabbing the characters. So the last issue, the Hulk was fighting Freedom Force in South Carolina, and this one, we find him jumping into New York City right off the bat. Great opening splash here. You can really see the difference between what Keown is now doing with the Hulk versus what Jeff Purvis was doing in the previous, Joe Fixit era that we just came out of. Much smoother, like longer limbs here. The Hulk feels taller. I don't want to say skinny, but he's not as like wide and kind of like a tall squat that the way McFarlane and Jeff Purvis drew the Hulk. He's definitely taller and just like more detailed, muscular, like all the way into like the knuckles on his hands and stuff here. And there's some great shots later on of his hands. Even his feet look muscular. So something Keown really pushing here is just how toned every muscle in the Hulk's body really is. It's a good sense of anatomy. Bob McLeod continuing to do the inking for now. He definitely gives it that polished inking feel. Very organic, very clean. This really reminds me of the John Byrne and Terry Austin combination from X-Men. So the Hulk is jumping into New York City, and he just happens to be landing near some kind of like light show going on outside of this apartment. And it's a good dialogue boxes here. The place, New York City. The time, a few minutes before dawn. The Hulk's mood, annoyed. Place and time may vary, but some things remain constant. So it's before dawn. He's about to turn into Banner. So yeah, he's annoyed. Strange matters. Another great shot of the Hulk landing kind of softly on the roof of this building. You'd think coming down with the speed and velocity he's coming down, it would crush the top of this building. And he's drawn to this light, and he's even like pondering here why he's going over there. He doesn't even know. He sees it, and he's like, what's causing it? And why do I even care? And then down in the street, we see a figure who's, in a nice coat and hat, also kind of wondering why they're drawn to this strange alleyway in New York. And all of a sudden he crosses paths with my former partner in crimes and heroics, the Hulk. So me as a kid, I did not know that this was Namor. I mean, I look at this now and it's like they're not really trying to hide it. They do have his ears kind of covered up. I guess if you weren't following the Namor series, you might be a little confused by it, but I mean, he's on the cover at the same time. But as a kid, I had no idea who this character was. Like right here, I remember distinctly being like, who is this guy? So the Hulk enters this apartment and finds Stephen Strange battling some kind of monster coming out of this closet. We saw this monster in the last issue. There was an old lady's apartment. Mystique had gone to visit her because she saw a hulking figure in the streets and it was trapped in her closet. And then the monster grabbed the old lady and pulled her in. And then here we see Stephen Strange in his astral form trying to battle it back. And the Hulk's like, Strange? Doc Strange? How's it going, Steve? What? Son of a. And he's distracted enough for the creature to grab him and pull him in to this closet. Now, these next couple pages, these were pretty ambitious because of the print quality of this era. This is newsprint with the offset printing, and we're going to go with these deep black panels, kind of negative space. You know, you usually saw that for a panel or two, and artists would try to pull that off, but we're going to get a couple pages like that. And it works okay for the art itself. You can tell what's going on. The Hulk here and Stephen Strange kind of floating around. Hulk's going to grab him by the leg. But it's the lettering that is like, it just bleeds in. That black just bleeds into the white lettering. And it makes it extremely hard to read. Some of the words are like, you just kind of have to infer the context of what's being said. So as I said, we get a whole another page of it right here. The Hulk is able to grab Stephen Strange, who seems like unconscious, even though he's in his astral form. I like the staggering way the panels are laid out here, too. They're not very rigid. So, kind of giving you that sense of like a not full blown chaos, but like just disoriented in this darkness. And he mentions in here somewhere that it just feels like really dense, like the atmosphere feels dense. But he throws Stephen Strange out of the closet, and as he's trying to leave, he too is grabbed by the creature. And this is a nice transition right here where we go back to full color. Back here, you see the Hulk's hand trying to grab and reach his way out. And this panel in particular, you get a little blend of the two with the yellow from the door. Even the Hulk's arm is almost more in color there. Look at this detail of the Hulk's hand, as I was saying before. He makes sure that you really see the muscles in his hand here, here, and here, just like really flexing as he's trying to grab the floor to pull himself up. And all of a sudden, he feels something else grab him by the arm and sling him out. And he slams the door shut. If someone comes knocking, I'm not here. And then he looks to see who it was that threw him out, wondering. And then he looks and sees who could have possibly had the strength to grab him by the arm and pull him out. And it's none other than Namor. So it's like they tried to give you a little mystery on that first panel with him and for a reveal right here. If you were following Namor at this time, you probably realized that immediately. If you were like me as a kid and not even very familiar with Namor, it went over your head. At least it did mine. And all this aspect here, too, this was all fresh to me at the time. So he's saying, like, Stephen Strange is over there, and Namor can't see him in his astral form. And that's what the Hulk ends up mentioning here, is that, oh yeah, I forgot, only I can see him when he's like that. And so he starts to explain to Namor what's going on, and we're getting back to the Hungry Hulk here. That's been a pretty consistent theme of this Gray Hulk that Peter David has kind of played with a little bit throughout the whole run. Going back to the McFarlane issues, the Hulk was always hungry. He was always looking for food. The Joe Fixit time, he was having like carts full of food delivered to his room. The Hulk must burn a lot of calories, so he's always eating. So he goes to raid this old lady's refrigerator and finds a little piece of chicken here, a drumstick. I like how he's got his pinky sticking up because it is tiny in his hand. Good look at his face with nice lighting right there as well. And the lighting is actually the sun starting to come up, and it causes him to revert back to Banner. Nice transformation scene, just close up going on. And then Banner and Namor get to, reintroduce each other. Namor points out too that Bruce is looking really fit right here. In the last issue, I mentioned how Keown was drawing him like especially scrawny, and he is looking pretty fit right here. And as I was rereading this, at first I was thinking, well, maybe Peter David is just scripting it, kind of commenting on how well Keown is actually drawing him here. But there is a story element that's building up that I didn't think about, and I'm sure I didn't even think about that as a kid, because as these issues were just coming out month to month, I had no idea what was coming. Now I know where this is going, and as I'm looking at it here, and then it's mentioned again later in the book, I'm like, I see what's happening here. So Namor's kind of explaining in this right here what's going on with his character and how he's living in the surface world as like a businessman wearing Armani suits and stuff, and how his character has also been perceived to be dead, which is what something Bruce says here. I thought you were dead. And he's like, I seem to remember reading the same about you. But it is funny that Namor goes ahead and strips down to his regular look to carry Bruce off, and they're going to go visit Doctor Strange. Meanwhile, we're going to get some regular subplot stuff happening here. We have Doc Samson visiting the kid from last issue. The kid is playing with this random red car, which we've also kind of seen, and the parents are saying, yeah, that was from the other government guy that was here earlier. Back to Strange, whose astral form is making it back to his Sanctum Sanctorum. Didn't really want to play with that too much. It's just kind of small on both. I guess he didn't really care about taking the opportunity to draw that as like some kind of big panel half splash or something. And we meet this character here, who is apparently the new disciple of Doctor Strange, and he accuses Namor of being Spock. He's like, oh, the one with the pointy ears from the Star Trek show we were watching last night. So Strange returns to his astral form, and as he's greeting the two, he notices Bruce has a scar on the back of his neck, and Bruce just brushes it off like it's not important at the moment. Another quick glance back to Doc Samson. He sees that red car, which we've seen the last couple issues coming through, and he's going to stand his ground to take it on, but the car just runs him over and leaves him, I guess, injured or something. He's saying his name, Doc Samson, like he's hurting. So this car on its way to, I guess we're going to assume it's going to confront the Hulk. It's in the Hulk's title, and we've been seeing it the last few issues. So Bruce had asked to go take a nap, and we're just kind of getting some like exposition here about what his mission to go, his personal mission to go find Betty in Connecticut, stopping in New York, deciding that he is going to help with Strange and Namor. They explain that this was some kind of theory of strange matter that he discovered in school, and they want the Hulk to help. We could probably use his strength in this. And Namor says something about the Silver Surfer, about that it's good that he's not there, because if all of them gathered again, that it would mean the end of the world. And he said he always felt like that was hard to swallow. So that's something that came out of I guess, the end of the Defenders, or at least when the Silver Surfer wasn't going to be part of it. My Defenders reading is all over the map. I've read a little bit from the early issues, the middle issues, at least the ones with Hulk involved, because that's kind of what I was getting it for. So I'm not particularly aware of what happened here, but I guess they were told that the four characters couldn't be together anymore, which they were kind of overpowered. I mean, you had the Sorcerer Supreme, Namor, who's crazy, strong, powerful himself, the Hulk, infinite strength, and then the Silver Surfer himself and all of his powers. That was a that was an unstoppable group of characters, really, when you think about it. So anyway, Namor said he found it hard to believe, and Doctor Strange saying he did too, so he looked into it further and found out it was just a hoax. They could get together whenever they want. And Namor said, well, why didn't you ever tell us? He's like, honestly, I kind of enjoyed the peace and quiet. He didn't want to get the band back together. Doing away with that little constraint that continuity had been placing on the four characters getting together. So Doctor Strange is doing, like, putting Banner in kind of a hypnotic state so that he can have a conversation with the Hulk to help out. And he goes to help, and the Hulk does mention that the last time he encountered Stephen Strange, Strange sent him to that interdimensional crossroads, which was issues, well, that happened at the end of 300, issue 301 through 313. The Hulk was in this interdimensional crossroads storyline, which I love a lot. It was Sal Buscema's last full-time work on the Hulk. I remember picking those up when I made a back issue goals of starting with like Hulk 300 and catch up to today. I did that very early on when I started buying back issues, and I loved those issues. I should cover them on the channel at some time. If you want to see me do those, like take a break from the Peter David run and do that run, that would be a fun thing to do. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that. And do you want to issue by issue like I do this, or do you want me to just cover the whole thing in one story? Let me know. Anyway, the Hulk does mention that. He's saying, considering he sent me there, I've already done my part by saving him in the closet that he was in, and that was just because he was so nice to me in the past. And as they're walking through this little mindscape, I mean, gosh, I love these panels though. I really love that expression on the Hulk's face, the size comparison, the way the Hulk just carries himself. It's such a different look than what we had been getting from McFarlane and Purvis, the build of the Hulk and everything. I just really enjoy it. And as they're walking up, the Hulk is actually kind of accusing him of delaying trying to find Betty, that he's worried that, you don't really want to find Betty after all. So you're willing to put it off. And they come across this big door, and neither of them know what's behind it. And this is in Banner's head. And the Hulk is acting tough, like, I don't really care what's behind the door. You can open it if you want to. Banner saying he doesn't have the strength. Kind of arguing. Banner kind of wants to open it, and the Hulk doesn't, but he's also playing it off like it's not a big deal, whatever's behind there. All of a sudden, we see those crazy monster hands come out of Banner's butt. Great shot of Doctor Strange right here, too. I love the shadowing. And this, these like ovals patterns that are very consistent with Doctor Strange. And I like this too. It's like taking over both Banner in the physical world and then trying to take over the Hulk in the mindscape. And then you see this white hand emerging. And this dark Hulk appearing as our splash page. So the Hulk is being taken over by this shadowy force. Now, I remember when this came out as a kid, and a buddy of mine who had an older brother and his friend, and I remember them thinking that the Hulk had been taken over by Venom, that this was a Venom symbiote taking the Hulk over. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. When you read it, that's not what it is at all. But I wanted to mention that because I always think about that. I wanted to mention it though, just because I always think about that whenever I look at these issues, that, like, I'm a gullible kid. I mean, they thought that too. They really thought it was Venom. They weren't trying to trick me or anything. They're like, yeah, the Hulk's taken over by Venom. It's awesome. But but that wasn't really the case at all. So that's it for this one. Here's that Hulk annual that I already covered. So I guess technically it must have come out between this issue and the next. I did it before the Dale Keown issue, kind of because I wanted it out of the way, because I wanted to just go Dale Keown forward from here. But that's it for this one. It's a fun one. We'll be back for the second part next week. I hope you're enjoying these videos, and until next time, read your comics.